Hey guys, welcome to the Gray State. Today I am in balmy northern Indiana. We had an amazing day today. It's in the evening. I'm just kind of sitting outside tonight, taking advantage of the weather because we know it's going to be super crappy here before too long. But today, as you guys saw in the title of this video, I'm going to be taking a look at a not so frequently seen Leatherman multi-tool called the OHT, which stands for one-handed tool. And the reason I wanted to take a look at this is because it's one of those things that, you know, true to my channel, it fits in my personal life, it fits in my professional life, it goes both directions, and it's something that you don't see every day. And there's been some videos in the past. This isn't necessarily a new item, but they all kind of missed some things, and I went and I watched a bunch of really geeky engineering designer focused videos as well, and there were some tidbits in there that were kind of lost in the other videos, and I just wanted to bring a new take on it, bring it all back together and kind of show you guys this particular tool. So I'm going to be taking a look at the OHT. So a couple of specifics about it before I start. First, I was not given this. It's I picked it up out of my own money. I'm not sponsored, endorsed, or anything like that. I'm not receiving any compensation for doing this. Other things I can tell you about it, the price is, it's kind of like in a mid-grade range. It's like right at $90, like $89.99 for retail. Of course, Leatherman does have a military law enforcement first responder discount program as well. So if you're in that bucket, you can take advantage of that. The tool itself, you don't find it at the normal box stores like the Best or the Home Depots, the Lowe's of the world, or the Cabela's. You got to go looking for this, and I think that's what's kind of neat about it. It's more of a special applications multi-tool, but it's completely qualified and completely makes sense in an EDC capacity. So for those of you who maybe are not in the law enforcement, military, or first responder world, but you like EDC products, this one will fit squarely in there. And at that $90 price point, maybe you're thinking about giving a gift this year for the holiday season, or maybe getting a gift, and it comes in sub $100, like right in the mid-range of that Leatherman tool lineup. Yeah, it's got a lot of really cool tools. It's got 16 of them total, and it comes in this really cool, nice little box. It's not like a gift box or a presentation box, but in a world where when you go to those big box stores, and the Leathermans tend to be more on like plastic, like peg holder, like packaging, you know, the one I'm talking about, just the really generic stuff, you get something actually in a nice, cool little case with this particular tool. So I did order it online, and it's fantastic. It does look like it's a Leupold product for whatever reason, because the way that they wrote the logo on this updated logo looks a lot like Leupold to me. Maybe I'm just crazy, but it is indeed a Leatherman. So let's take a look at it. So you open the box, like I said, $90. I'm going to do a kind of a packaging here. You open it up, and you get a nice little presentation. I took a lot of the case candy out, like the warranty cards, the owner's manual, all that kind of stuff, but you get a nice MOLLE sheath, and then you get the tool itself in there as well. So very no frills. I mean, I think at $90, the fact that you get the MOLLE sheath is pretty darn cool. So you do get that. It's the standard one that they ship with all of their other ones, like the Wave Plus. If you're familiar with that, I think everybody has a Wave Plus around or something about that equivalent in size. I can tell you right off the bat, the reviews talk about the size of the OHT as being a little bit big, and my general impression is it is a little bit big as well, but it's not a bad thing, and I'm going to kind of cover why and give you some of my opinions on it. So you pull it out, and the things that you notice about it is its size. Obviously, it's a little bit bigger than a Wave Plus. It's about 4.5 inches closed. It's got about 6.5 inch length if it's completely open. It is wider this way, and it's also deeper as well compared to a Wave Plus. I'm going to put those both up here on screen so that you can see them, but it's about 1 inch longer than a Wave Plus. It's about, I don't know, a good 1/4 of an inch thicker in profile, and about 5/16 to a 1/2 inch maybe or so in the whole width of it from the profile perspective. Weight-wise, I did weigh them. I did bring a scale out here. I'm just going to verify it here for you guys. It's one of those things where it's a little bit heavier. I mean, you can feel it just a little bit, but I think the majority of the weight that people think it feels just a lot heavier is because the overall size and the girth of it, which I think we're going to get to here in just a second, but I think it's actually a pretty good thing as to why they did it. And there were some design considerations for it. So I'm just zeroing here very quickly. And by my weight, I got 268 grams for the OHT, and a Wave Plus comes in at 240, so 28 more grams for an OHT. And just for completeness sake, I do have a mutt here, which is a little longer, but also narrower and slenderer than the OHT, and it comes in at 298, so 30 grams heavier than the OHT, excuse me. So who would really benefit from this tool? Well, like I said, I think this has got a really good dual purpose scenario usage for it. I think if you're the EDC guy, you like some of the tactical stuff. If you're looking for a general good all-around multi-purpose tool that doesn't have an overly inordinate amount of tools that you'll never use and that you'll end up paying for, versus one that has just the right amount of tools. And we're going to talk about some of the design here and some of the tools that are included in it. But overall, I think it looks great. I think it's got a lot of really good design components to it that maybe are a little understated that people don't necessarily always see. So I'm going to cover those off. So first and foremost, obviously it's black. It is stainless steel. It's a 420 HC makeup, so it is stainless like the Wave Plus, but it does have that black oxide coating on it, which is kind of cool. It also gives it a little bit more of a powder coated feel, but not gritty or anything like that. The biggest thing obviously about this is that in addition to the 16 tools, it's one-handed tool. That's why it's called the OHT. There's a couple of different ways. I'm just going to do a show and tell here very quickly on how you can actually accomplish bringing the pliers out. They're on a parallel track system that's internal. Because of that, you do lose any internal tools, and that's why it only has 16 as opposed to something like the 24 and up from some of the other Leatherman products. But what you gain from it is the ability to actually do one-handed deployment. I'm going to do that again here so you guys can see it on that camera. And then to flip it around, you've got 2 pressure point switches here on the sides, and then what you do is you actuate it and it drops right back down. You can let gravity do it, or if you're so inclined, you can do the totally tactical pinch and flip out. It makes it sound a lot more dramatic and like you're doing something important. Now, whether or not you are, that's a whole nother thing. But it gives you the option to do that. But if you want to just be a little bit more discreet, you can just do the little slide and you're good to go. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but one thing that's really key about this, and this was a design cue, is that they put a spring load preload underneath the pliers themselves. So what I mean by that is, even though we were letting Sir Isaac Newton take advantage of the last, or at least his theories, take advantage of gravity, in this one, I'm going to go the other direction so you can see there's an opposing force. But what we have here is that these pliers are sprung load, so that when you open them up, they automatically truly open to a one-handed. So you don't have to worry about them actually, pulling them apart or kind of indexing them off of something and to get them to open up to get to a usable plier set. So that's kind of a big deal that they wanted to make sure that they covered off and talked about in their design video. The other thing is that every tool on here you're able to use it in a one-handed capacity. So if I put the pliers back and I want to open up one of the tools, I can just do it. They're very smooth. As you guys know, sometimes with the Leathermans, you kind of have to dig under there, use your fingernail. It feels like it's going to pop it off. And then you have to actually take that and then use a lock back on the back and close it with a two-handed operation. Not so with this. You've got one-handed operation, all very smooth. And then you've got a liner lock on the inside that allows you to close it back up with one hand. The other thing that they did with those liner locks and also the thumb indents is that they made it so that you could wear gloves. They realized that a lot of people weren't using this tool in a professional capacity, would probably be using gloves at some point, myself included. So if I take a pair of mechanics grip gloves, these are a thinner grip material. Here, I'm just going to show you very quickly before I get into the tools. You guys can see I just opened one of them up and I just close it back and I can go there. I do think the overall size, even though it's bigger and it's one of the big complaints from people online, I think it actually lends itself to feeling very, very good in gloves, especially when you have something that's a little bit chunkier. Of course, it's only going to feel better when you use your own naked hands, of course. But what am I talking about? So the size of it, you guys can see here, I have large size hands. I wear a size large glove. And you can barely see the tops and the bottom. So it's a good size that lets me get a good handle on it, especially when I'm wearing gloves, as opposed to something like a Wave Plus. Size-wise, you can see here, I'm basically playing the hide-and-seek game with it. I'm going to put on the video here. You guys can see it's completely concealed. So it is a little bit smaller. I do get a big grip on it, and I feel like sometimes when I'm really cranking on it, I do over-torque it just a little bit. It's not the case with this particular guy. So it feels good to me. I'm going to talk more about the size considerations and how you actually carry it here in just a second. But before that, I do want to cover off on each individual specific tool and show them to you, because there are 16 of them on this, like I mentioned. And it is one of those things where some of them are kind of compound and you got to look for them. So I want to show that. While I'm doing this, the other thing, it's a great opportunity to show one of the other details here. I'm going to put this on camera with some B-roll, is that they also took the time on these outer scales, or on the outer case, to actually put engraving. Well, it's kind of like a contour and a textured finish, and when you look at it, the textured finish is actually showing, it's representative of which blade is underneath it at that particular point. So for those of you guys who have used Leathermans or any multi-tool in the past, you know it can kind of be a pain. Sometimes you have to go hunting for that one tool that you're looking for, and sometimes you end up opening the entire darn thing just in the process of finding that one. and then you got to put it all back together just to use it. Not so the case with this one. If you're inclined, you can actually take a look at it. You can see which tool you're using and just go for it. So it's pretty cool. All right. So the tools, let's talk about them. First one, obviously, the pliers. All right. They are a hardened steel. They've got a nice grip on them. They're knurled. You can actually use them as a wrench in a pinch on a hex bolt or on a hex nut or something like that. If you want, of course, it's not the right tool for the job, but a lot of times if you're down to using a multi-tool, you're not looking for your snap-ons. All right. It does have user replaceable wire cutters on it, not strippers, but cutters. They are 420 hardened steel as well. They are stainless, so you can actually replace those as well via some torque bolts. The other thing that I want to point out here is that that's two of the tools that they have for you right there. And you see the lack of the tools here on the inner rail, as I was talking about earlier. Okay, so there's two of your tools right off the get-go. Your next set of tools, I'm going to show you guys here and just kind of go all along them. So you're going to have two of them right here of the 16. You've got a can opener and a bottle opener. That counts as two. Here you've got a saw. All right, here's a saw for you. A lot of these are your basic staple type stuff. You've got a 420 HC bladed drop point right there. It's about 2.75, maybe 3 inches in length, a nice good size. And then here you've got a full-size flat blade screwdriver blade up on the top side. And that's the 4 on that side. Now here on the middle side, you do actually have a threaded insert, so you can actually put either like a barrel rod or a barrel cleaner for your brushes and stuff like that in it. And Leatherman also has an optional, they don't include it with this kit, but you can actually get a hex driver that kind of screws in there, and then you can use it with some standard size bits and so forth and use it on a torque basis, like if you're using it as a hand wrench. So that's also an option there. While I'm over here, I'm also going to show you on this side, there is a lock for the slide. I'm kind of getting broken up here just a little bit, but what's important about it is you can lock out so that the pliers do not slide out because they are very smooth, and it's right here. It's a little 90-degree turn pin. All right, and just lock it out. Now let's take a look at the other side here, and there's one cool tool on here that I think is kind of specific to what you would think of when you think of a special applications tactical tool. All right, so first one I'm going to show you is just a regular old medium-sized Phillips head screwdriver bit. And again, all of these are liner locked and are all thumb indexed. That's the one I didn't want to show you yet. You got a serrated blade. This one, of course, again, is also 420 HC steel. And then you've got a small flathead screwdriver. You can also use it as a scraper if need be, or anything like that. And then finally, the last tool on here that I think is really super cool, it was very well thought out and a nice ad, is this seatbelt strap cutter and then an oxygen wrench. It's one of those things, I didn't realize exactly how much I'd be using an oxygen wrench, but I use it a lot more than I ever thought I would, if I'm just being candid. And it's one of those things, if you guys are police, LA first responder, you'll find out that when you need an oxygen wrench, you need an oxygen wrench. I usually have one on me with my Leatherman Raptors, and it's just nice having a second one on her, but it was a really good thought idea between the whole, by the Leatherman team. So I think it was just a cool, solid add on there, and I do call that a functional tool on there. So the other thing, of course, I might have already mentioned it, but with the pliers, one thing that's really kind of cool and important is with that preloaded tension, is that it gets rid of that rattle that sometimes you have with other out the front or one-handed tools. And it's just a nice, that the spring tension that it's under that causes it to open and pop open makes it so that it doesn't rattle and doesn't have that clickety-clack when you're walking around. So if I was thinking about this, like who would actually use this? Well, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I think anybody who has an EDC lifestyle, I think this gives you everything that you need. It doesn't have any wire strippers on it, which I kind of wish it does. A lot of the Leathermans have that. I would like a nice pair of wire strippers, not cutters, but strippers. But in a pinch, you can totally use a drop point blade. You can use the serrated blade to kind of get on it and get in that groove. You can also use the wire cutters if you're pretty careful. So there is an option to do that. It just doesn't have an actual dedicated tool for wire cutting, or for wire stripping, excuse me. But the size and the carry. So this is the one thing, we're in an area when people talk about the reviews of this thing, and I've got a lot of thoughts on it, and I had a real simple, easy solution that may or may not be applicable to everybody else out there. But if you guys know anything about, I'm reaching down here, my apologies, for the sheath, is if you've used these on your belt Or if you've used them in, like on your duty belt, you can either use the PALS or MOLLE webbing on the side, kind of lock it down one strap and kind of fit it to your belt. Over time, because of the weight of even something like a Wave Plus, it tends to kind of walk out a little bit, and then it kind of starts sagging, and it bounces around, it kind of shifts around and all that kind of stuff. So the sheath is not my favorite attachment. Even though they're nice enough to give you one, I think it was a great idea. It was a solid ad. With the OHT being that much bigger, taller, wider, it's just going to have more rotational mass on the outside of your circumference, that it's just going to exacerbate that, and it's probably going to wear out a little bit quicker. It's going to start dangling. It's going to start getting caught up on stuff. If you know me, I like running slick. I don't like having a bunch of stuff hanging off of me, and this solution tends to do that just a little bit. The flip side is you can put it in a pocket. I will say it's probably a little big and a little heavy for most people's pockets, and more than they'd want to tolerate. So how do I carry it? Well, maybe for those of us who use something in a professional capacity, this will make a lot of sense. But I'm sure a lot of you guys watch Grantham like myself. I'm not affiliated with them. I just think he's a great quality channel. And I was out there watching a plate carrier setup video one day, just one night, and it was kind of neat because he did something exactly that I do. So I use a plate carrier at work. This is my plate carrier. This is my HRT Tactical. It was sent to me by HRT. It's a new setup that they're doing specifically for tactical paramedics, and they sent it to me for review. And I've been using it for about a month now. I absolutely love it. It's a great product. I'm going to be doing a whole video review on it. I've got a Maximus placard right here on the front right now that you're seeing, along with some of my other stuff. But where I'm going with the Grantham video and myself is that he tends to not use the pistol mag pouches with the mag inserts for pistol magazines, and I don't either, and it's something I never have. I usually use it for stuff that I'm going to use more on a daily basis that I can use in my workspace. So you guys see where I'm going with this. So I've got my flashlight over here on this one, and then over here I usually had my Wave Plus, which was much smaller. The downside to it is, even though it fit in easier and was smaller, you guys can see here, it's kind of hidden in there, and when I'm wearing my gloves, it's kind of hard for me to get out at times. It wasn't necessarily the best example of it there, but believe me, at nighttime, when you got gloves or you're in the rain, it can kind of get a little slick. I thought this thing was going to be too big and it wouldn't fit, because it is pretty much more substantially bigger than like the Wave Plus. It fits just fine. In fact, it fits perfectly, and it fits snugly, and it doesn't rattle around. It doesn't even move. And so I'm going to show you guys here. This is how I carry it. This is my option. Now, is this applicable to everybody in an EDC capacity? No, but is it possibly applicable if you wear an external carrier at work? Yeah, absolutely. And this is where I tend to carry mine. So I've not had any problems with it coming out, feeling too heavy, you know, not coming out when I wanted it to. I've got a nice purchase on it here now. You guys can see, I know it's black on black and we're losing some daylight here, but I wanted to get a quick video out, but you guys can see here, it's really easy to pull out. It's nice and snug and secure, and that's where I typically run my OHT. So what do I think about it overall? I recommend it. I think it's really cool. If you guys are looking for a gift or to give or possibly give a gift this year that's under $100 and it meets that criteria, this one at $90 retail definitely fits in it. You're getting a nice quality tool that's mid-range as far as Leathermans go. I mean, obviously you can get them kind of like down at $30 doorbuster Black Friday kind of a thing. And then they go all the way up to the high end, like with a Leatherman MUT, you know, like in the $170 range, normally somewhere in that ballpark. So at $90, it's squarely in the middle. You're getting quality 420 HT, you're getting a stainless steel construction, you're getting black oxide coating, you're getting 16 tools. I think it's got everything that you would want and that you could use, and all the stuff like I mentioned earlier, the stuff that's not there that you wouldn't miss isn't there, so it doesn't add to the cost. So I think you're getting just an all-around good tool. It's been very well thought out, has a lot of bonuses to it, and it will serve anybody who has this thing well, and it comes in a cool box. So that's really it for this one. I just wanted to give you guys a quick review on something that you normally don't see, especially when you start thinking about Leathermans are one of those things that are always kind of on the gift idea as something that you get dad or something like this. This one might be one that's just a little bit cooler than your standard Wave Plus. It's definitely one that you won't find at the big box stores. So that's it for this one, guys. I hope you liked it, enjoyed it, found value in it, found it loosely informational. I kept it at a good speed, and I didn't talk too much and stuff about things that don't matter about it, and it gave you a good review and overview of the actual Leatherman itself. I'd appreciate if you'd subscribe, like, follow me on Instagram at Gray State Medic, if you would be so kind. Also, for those of you who might be into more of the pre-hospital tactical stuff, I have started my own podcast. You can find me at GS Medic at any of the podcast sites like Apple, Amazon, Audible from Amazon, Pandora, Spotify. I know for certain right now I'm already on the Apple site, so you can just search under GS Medic, and you'll see my intro there. I'm also going to be simulcasting here. But that's really it for this one, guys. Until next time, stay safe.